Welcome to the Midnight Files. In this video, we're unraveling 3 chilling mysteries that will send shivers down your spine. First, we uncover the tragic case of Lynda Ann Healy, the first known victim of the infamous serial killer Ted Bundy. Then we delve into the terrifying Villisca Axe Murders, where an entire family was brutally killed in the dead of night. Finally, we explore the mysterious disappearance of Brandon Swanson, a young man who vanished into the darkness without a trace. Stay with us as we bring you the details, quick, compelling, and unforgettable. Would you like me to outline each section now?
I'm Inspector Kane, and I've spent my career uncovering the darkest mysteries and piecing together the stories no one else dares to tell. Tonight, I'm taking you into the tragic case of a young woman whose bright future was stolen in an instant. This is the story of Lynda Ann Healy. Lynda was a promising 21-year-old student at the University of Washington. She was known for her kindness and her talent in broadcasting, a rising star with so much ahead of her. But all of that came to an end on a cold night in February 1974. Lynda vanished without a trace from her own apartment, leaving behind a chilling mystery. The days that followed revealed clues no one could ignore, signs of a struggle, and evidence that pointed to something far more sinister. As the investigation unfolded, her disappearance became linked to one of the most infamous serial killers in history, Ted Bundy, a man whose charm masked a monstrous evil. Join me as we unravel the details of this horrifying case. Together, we'll uncover the tragic fate of Lynda Ann Healy and the darkness that hid in plain sight. I remember walking into Lynda Ann Healy's apartment for the first time. It was February 1974, a cold, quiet morning in Seattle. Her roommates had called in a panic. They hadn't seen her since the night before. At first, they thought she'd left early for work, but something about the silence in that apartment felt wrong, very wrong. When I entered her bedroom, the scene was haunting. The bed was neatly made, but there were faint bloodstains on the pillow and mattress, just enough to send a chill down your spine. Her clothes for the day were gone, yet her purse, wallet, and other belongings sat untouched as she just stepped out for a moment. It felt eerie, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Weeks turned into months, and I kept returning to this case, replaying every detail in my mind. Lynda wasn't the only one. More women began disappearing across Seattle, young and full of promise, just like her. The connection was undeniable. I started seeing the threads, patterns that tied these cases together, and all of them pointed to one man, Ted Bundy. Bundy was unlike anyone I'd encountered before. His charm, his intelligence, they were weapons, tools he used to lure his victims into a false sense of safety. Lynda, tragically, was one of the first. Years later, fragments of her remains, her skull and jawbone, were discovered on Taylor Mountain, along with others who had fallen victim to Bundy's monstrous axe. Even now, when I think about Lynda, it's hard not to wonder what she could have become. She was more than just a victim. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone who deserved so much more. And for me, her case wasn't just the start of Bundy's reign of terror. It was a reminder of how evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, waiting to strike. Lynda Ann Healy's story is one I'll never forget. It was the beginning of a pattern, a terrifying chain of events that devastated countless families and gripped the public for years. Her case is a stark reminder of the real human cost of such horrific crimes. What happened to her haunts me to this day. It's a chilling example of how evil can hide behind the most ordinary, even charming, of masks. Lynda's memory stays with us, a reminder to always remain vigilant. But for now, it's time to move on to our next case, one that's just as haunting.
After Inspector Kane closes another unresolved case, the chilling questions linger, but there's no time to pause. Now we step into a world of shadows and whispers as Ayla takes the lead. She's ready to explore a mysterious location steeped in eerie legends and spine-tingling tales. Are you brave enough to follow her into the unknown? Let's uncover the secrets of this haunted place. Let's go.
June 10th, 1912. It's a date that sends shivers down my spine every time I think about it. I visited Villisca, a small, quiet town in Iowa, where one of the most horrifying crimes in American history took place, the Villisca Axe Murders. 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their sleep with an axe. Standing inside that house, I could feel the weight of the unanswered questions. Who could do something so gruesome, and why? Over a century later, this mystery remains unsolved, casting a dark shadow over Villisca. Let me take you through the chilling details of this haunting case. The Villisca Axe Murders happened in a town where life was simple, neighbors were friends, and doors were rarely locked. I walked through the streets of Villisca, imagining what it must have been like back on June 9th, 1912. That evening, the Moore family, Josiah, Sarah, and their 4 children had attended a church event. 2 young girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, stayed the night as guests. No one could have known the horror waiting for them. The next morning, a concerned neighbor entered their home when the family didn't come outside. What they discovered was beyond comprehension. 8 people, all bludgeoned to death with an axe. The victims were found in their beds, likely murdered as they slept. What made this even more disturbing was the eerie precision of the killer. Mirrors were covered, windows draped, and a plate of uneaten food sat in the kitchen alongside a bowl of bloody water, as if the murderer calmly cleaned themselves before vanishing into the night. Despite years of investigation, no one was ever convicted. Suspicions fell on people like Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher, and Frank Jones, a state senator rumored to hold a grudge against Josiah Moore, but none of these leads brought justice. Over a century later, the case remains a chilling mystery. Walking through the Moore house today is an unsettling experience. Now a tourist attraction, visitors often report strange occurrences, shadows, whispers, and unexplained movements, believing the victim's spirits still linger. This story is not just about a horrific crime. It's about a town forever haunted by that fateful night and the unanswered questions that remain. The Villisca Axe Murders, one of America's most chilling and notorious unsolved crimes. 8 innocent lives were brutally taken, and even after more than a century, the questions remain unanswered. Who committed this horrific act, and why? Was it a personal vendetta, a random act of violence, or something far more sinister? Standing in the very place where it happened, I can't help but feel the weight of that fateful night. While the truth may never surface, the fascination and fear surrounding this case endure.
Haunted places have always been shrouded in mystery with no clear answers to their eerie stories. While Ayla uses her extensive experience to explore and investigate these sites, it's time to move on to the next segment. Join Detective Gaspar as he dives into a strange and baffling case that will leave you questioning everything.
I'm Detective Gaspar, and I've spent years unraveling the mysteries that others can't solve. Tonight, we dive into a case that's haunted investigators and families alike, the disappearance of Brandon Swanson. It was a quiet night in May 2008, and 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving through rural Minnesota when his car veered off the road and into a ditch. Brandon, unharmed but stranded, called his parents for help. He calmly explained his location and assured them he'd wait near his car. But within minutes, something went terribly wrong. Brandon vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only questions. Despite exhaustive searches, countless theories, and years of speculation, Brandon's case remains one of the most perplexing missing person mysteries in modern history. What happened that night? Let's piece together the clues and explore the events leading up to his disappearance. Brandon Swanson was just 19 years old, college student, with his whole future ahead of him. On the night of May 14th, 2008, he was driving home after spending time with friends in Canby, Minnesota. Around 1:54 a.m., Brandon accidentally drove his car into a ditch on a gravel road. Frustrated but uninjured, he did what most of us would. He called his parents for help. He told them he thought he was near Lynda, Minnesota, and asked them to come pick him up. They drove to the area he described, but they couldn't find him. Brandon stayed on the phone with his father, and I can only imagine how unsettling it must have been as they tried to figure out where he was. Eventually, Brandon decided to leave his car and walk towards some lights he could see in the distance, believing it was a nearby town. As he walked, Brandon stayed on the phone with his dad. At one point, he suddenly said, "Oh shit," and the line went dead. That was the last anyone ever heard from him. I've read through every detail of this case, and despite the extensive search efforts, police volunteers, search dogs, Brandon's trail simply vanishes. His car was later found in a completely different location than he'd described, suggesting he might have been disoriented. Dogs tracked his scent to a nearby river, leading some to believe he accidentally fell in. But no body was ever recovered, leaving us with more questions than answers. Theories abound. Was it an accidental drowning? Did he fall into an unmarked well? Or was he the victim of foul play, possibly a hit and run? What stays with me most is the thought of his parents on the phone with him during what might have been his final moments. The mystery of Brandon Swanson isn't just haunting, it's heartbreaking. Brandon Swanson's disappearance is a chilling reminder of how quickly someone can vanish without a trace. Years of searching and endless theories have yet to uncover the truth. Was it a tragic accident, or could something more sinister have happened that night? The unanswered questions surrounding his case continue to haunt investigators and bring heartbreak to his family and community. Stay with us as we delve into more baffling and chilling mysteries.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Each time, we dive into chilling true crime cases, eerie haunted places, and baffling missing person stories. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear your opinion. Stay tuned for more mysteries in the next episode.